The farm of my father. I am an old man now. My hair is gray and my hands are weak. I remember the farm from my childhood very clearly. It was large, quiet, and full of animals and trees. My father worked there every single day, from early morning to sunset. He took care of the cows, chickens, and sheep. I followed him everywhere because I liked helping. The days were long, but they felt short when I was with him. I always felt safe and happy beside my father on that farm. The cows were big and slow, but they were gentle and calm. Every morning we gave them food and water together. They knew my father's voice and came to him when he called. Sometimes I brushed their backs, and they stood still like statues. The chickens were very different. They ran around quickly and made loud noises all the time. We collected their eggs carefully and counted them with joy. One morning the sky turned gray, and the wind blew hard. My father looked at the sky and said, "Rain is coming." We ran to the barn to check the animals. The rain came fast and heavy, hitting the roof loudly. We moved the animals inside and gave them dry food. It was hard work, but I didn't complain. I felt strong and useful standing beside him in the rain. That evening, we sat inside our warm house near the fire. My mother cooked soup with vegetables from our garden. The smell was nice, and we were both very hungry. After dinner, my father told stories about the old days on the farm. He always made us laugh with his funny voice. My little sister listened closely, holding her blanket. It was quiet outside, but our home was full of life. Another day, we walked to the cornfield at sunrise. The sky was pink, and the air was cool. The plants were tall and green, moving with the wind. My father touched the leaves and smiled. "The corn is strong this year," he said proudly. I picked up a small stone and saw a worm under it. I showed him, and he said, "Everything here has a place." I never forgot those words. In the afternoon, we walked to the river, not far from the farm. The sun was warm and the water moved slowly. My father liked to sit under a tree and listen to the birds. Sometimes we didn't speak. We just watched the water and smiled. I felt peaceful during those quiet times. I still think of them when I feel tired or sad. Farm life was not always easy, and sometimes things went wrong. Animals got sick and storms broke fences. Crops didn't always grow the way we hoped, but my father stayed calm. He worked with care and never gave up. I learned that hard work and kindness are important. I saw how strong and patient he was every day. Each day brought something new. I learned how to feed the animals and fix broken things. I learned how to listen to the weather and understand the land. I also learned how to care for others. My father taught me without using big words. He showed me everything with his actions. The farm was my school, and he was the best teacher I ever had. One early morning, my father woke me up before sunrise. The sky was still dark and the stars were shining. He said, "Let's go check the sheep." I was sleepy but excited to go with him. We took flashlights and walked slowly across the wet grass. The air was cold, and I could see my breath. I held his hand tightly, and we moved quietly under the stars. We reached the sheep near the edge of the farm. They were sleeping close to each other under a tree. My father counted them one by one. "Good," he said. "They are all here." Suddenly, we heard a strange sound from the bushes nearby. I was scared, but my father stayed calm. He walked closer to look. It was just a small fox running away. I laughed, but only after it was gone. After checking the sheep, we sat on a big rock near the field. My father gave me some bread and cheese from his bag. We ate together while the sky slowly turned blue. The birds began to sing and the trees moved gently with the wind. It was quiet, but not empty. Everything felt alive around us. I looked at my father and thought, this is a perfect moment. Later that day, we started cleaning the barn. There was hay on the floor and dust on the walls. My father gave me a broom, and we worked side by side. He showed me how to sweep in long, slow moves. We laughed when the chickens walked across the clean floor again. They always made a mess, but we didn't mind. The barn felt fresh and new when we finished. That afternoon, a neighbor came to visit us. His name was Mr. Green, and he brought some apples from his farm. My father invited him in, and they talked for a long time. I sat and listened to them. They talked about animals, weather, and planting. I didn't understand everything, but I liked the sound of their voices. It felt like a friendly and peaceful world. In the evening, we fixed a broken fence near the garden. The wind had pushed it down last night. My father carried the wood and I held the nails. He taught me how to hammer them gently. I was not strong, but I tried hard. After we finished, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Good job, son." I smiled all the way back to the house. After dinner, I looked out the window at the quiet fields. The moon was big and bright. I could see the cows sleeping and the trees standing still. I thought about the day and how much I had learned. My father sat next to me with a cup of tea. He didn't say much, but I knew he was proud. I wanted every day to be like this one. Before bed, my mother gave me a warm blanket and kissed my forehead. I lay in bed and listened to the sounds of the farm. A dog barked far away, and an owl called from the trees. I felt safe and loved. The farm was not just land and animals. It was home. It was full of stories, work, and love. I closed my eyes and dreamed of the next day with my father. One day, my father told me we had a big job to do. He said we needed to plant new seeds in the field before the rain came. I put on my boots and followed him with a big smile. The sun was hot and the earth felt dry under my feet. My father gave me a small bag of seeds and showed me how to drop them in rows. It was slow work, but I liked it. The birds flew above us looking for worms in the fresh soil. As we worked, my father talked about the power of nature. He said the earth gives us food, but only if we care for it. I didn't understand everything, but I listened. He showed me how to cover the seeds gently, not too deep. We moved across the field, step by step, working together in silence. It felt good to be trusted with real work. My hands were dirty, but my heart was proud. That afternoon, clouds began to gather in the sky. My father looked up and said, "Rain is near." We worked faster, trying to finish before the storm. The wind became strong and the light changed. When the last seeds were in the ground, we ran back to the house. Just as we reached the porch, the rain started. It came down in big, heavy drops. We stood under the roof and watched the water fall. Inside, my mother gave us dry clothes and hot tea. The rain made a soft sound on the windows. We sat at the table, warm and tired. My father looked at me and smiled. "You worked hard today," he said. I smiled back and nodded. My legs hurt, but I didn't care. I felt like a real farmer that day. My mother cut an apple and gave us slices. They tasted sweet after all the work. The next morning the farm looked different. The rain had washed the dust away. The fields were dark and wet, and the air was fresh. My father took me to see the field we planted. The rows were neat and perfect. He put his hand on my shoulder. "In a few days, green will come," he said. I imagined small plants coming out of the ground. It felt like magic. Later, we checked the tool shed. Some tools were old and needed cleaning. My father showed me how to use a wire brush to clean the rust. It was quiet, and we worked slowly. He told me names of tools and what each one did. "Every tool has a job," he said. I liked the feel of the wooden handles. They were smooth from years of use. It felt like each one had a story. That evening, we took hay to the animals. The sheep were waiting near the gate. The cows were already near the barn. My father lifted the heavy hay, and I helped carry the smaller parts. The animals were happy and made soft sounds. We stayed there a while, watching them eat. The sky turned orange and pink. My father said, "This is the best part of the day." I quietly agreed. At night, I sat by the window again. The stars were bright, and the air was cool. I thought about everything we had done: planting seeds, running in the rain, cleaning tools, and feeding animals. Each day was full, but in a good way. I didn't need toys or games. The farm gave me more than that. It gave me memories, lessons, and time with my father. I felt lucky to grow up there. One cold morning, the sky was white and the ground was hard. My father said, "Winter is coming soon." We needed to prepare the farm for the cold days. We started by checking the windows and doors of the barn. The wind was strong and it pushed against the walls. We fixed the broken parts and made sure the animals would stay warm. I held the nails, and my father did the hammering. It felt good to help him protect the animals. Next, we brought dry food into the barn. We had to store enough for many days. The chickens needed grain, and the cows needed hay. My father made a list, and we followed it step by step. The barn was big and dark inside, but I wasn't afraid. I knew every corner of that place. We worked quietly, only stopping when we were tired. The animals watched us with calm eyes. Later, we picked the last vegetables from the garden. The plants were small and some leaves were brown. My father said, "The earth needs to rest now." We pulled out carrots, onions, and a few potatoes. My hands were cold, but I liked feeling the soil. We put the vegetables in a basket and carried them to the house. My mother smiled when she saw them. "This will be our winter food," she said. That afternoon, snow started to fall. It came slowly at first, like small white feathers. I ran outside and held out my hands. My father laughed and joined me. We walked around the farm, now covered in soft white snow. Everything looked quiet and still. The trees, the fields, and the roof of the barn were all white. It felt like a new world. I loved how clean and peaceful it looked. The snow stayed on the ground for many days. We spent more time inside the house. My father cleaned his boots, and I cleaned mine, too. We sat by the fire and drank hot tea. Sometimes we played games, and sometimes we just talked. He told me stories about the winters of his youth. I listened closely and asked questions. The house felt warm and full of stories. One day, my father gave me a small wooden box. Inside were old photos of the farm. There was a photo of him as a boy holding a lamb. Another photo showed my grandfather with a big smile. I looked at each one carefully. My father said, "This farm has many memories." I nodded and felt proud. I was now part of that long story. It made me feel important. The days passed slowly, and the nights were long. But I didn't feel bored. Every day had a small job to do. We cleaned, we cooked, we cared for the animals. Sometimes we walked in the snow and looked for tracks. My father showed me how to find the steps of rabbits and foxes. It was like reading a secret book on the ground. I enjoyed every moment. Before bed, I looked out the window at the snow. The moon made everything shine. I thought about the summer, the field, the river, and the animals. Each season on the farm was special in its own way. Winter was cold and quiet, but full of love. I felt warm under my blanket, thinking of the farm, my family, and all the simple, beautiful days we shared. Spring came with soft wind and warm sunlight. The snow was gone and the ground was wet. My father opened the barn and smiled. "It's time to work again," he said. I stepped outside and looked at the trees. Small green leaves were growing. The air was cool and fresh. Everything felt alive and ready to start. We began with the fences around the field. Some wood was broken from the winter storms. My job was to carry nails and hand him the tools. My father hammered slowly and carefully. I watched and tried to learn. The sound of wood and metal filled the quiet air. Birds flew over us as we worked. It felt peaceful and strong. Next, we cleaned the chicken coop together. The floor was dirty and the hay was old. We took out the mess and brought in new straw. The chickens made happy sounds and moved around. I gave them clean water and fresh grain. My father nodded and said, "Good job." I smiled and looked at the clean space. It felt right. In the evening, we walked to the river near the trees. The ice had melted and the water was fast. My father stood still and listened to the sound. I stood beside him and looked at the sky. It was blue and orange with soft clouds. We didn't speak much, but it was enough. That quiet moment stayed with me. Summer arrived with long days and bright skies. The sun rose early and stayed high until evening. The farm was full of color and sound. Birds sang, bees flew, and grass grew tall. My father and I worked from morning to night. We watered the plants, cut the grass, and fed the animals. Every day felt full and strong with life. We started planting new seeds in the big field. My father showed me how to dig small holes. I placed the seeds in rows, one by one. Then we covered them with soft soil. He said, "Be gentle. Each one is a future." I liked thinking about what the seeds would become. We worked quietly, but I felt close to him in those moments. The cows now stayed outside in the field. We built a shade so they could rest from the sun. I cleaned their water and watched them eat the grass. My father checked each one carefully every morning. Healthy animals, healthy farm, he always said. I liked the smell of summer air mixed with grass and earth. It made me feel calm and safe. One day we found a bird with a hurt wing. It sat near the barn and could not fly. My father picked it up gently and said, "We will help it." We made a small box with dry straw. I gave it water and watched it slowly heal. After a few days, it flew again. I cheered, and my father smiled. It felt like a little bit of magic. Sometimes in the afternoon, we took a break. We sat under the big tree near the river. The shade was cool and the wind was soft. My father closed his eyes and I listened to the leaves move. We didn't need many words. Just being there was enough. I watched the water flow and dreamed of the future. I felt lucky to be part of this life. Now when I think about the farm, I feel warm inside. The sounds, the smells, the simple days, they stay with me. My father taught me more than just how to work. He showed me how to care, how to listen, how to love the land. Those memories are seeds, too. They grow inside me year after year. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Take care, everyone.